Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Your Views on the News with me, Azhar Ali. Palestinians all over the world remembered the Nakba yesterday, the moment they were driven from their land and their homes when the State of Israel was created 65 years ago. It's the second time Palestine has hit the UK headlines. In recent weeks, the scientist Stephen Hawking provoked strong reactions last week when he pulled out of an Israeli conference, apparently in support of the growing boycott of Israel. So 65 years on, are times changing for the Palestinians? Is there a chance that they finally can get back home? Well, let's have a quick look at this report.
Today marks the 65th anniversary of Nakba, or the catastrophe, whereupon the declaration of the State of Israel by a group of Zionists in 1948, many Palestinians were, according to some, ethnically cleansed, violently evicted from their homes and villages, and never allowed to return. Though some still reside inside the ancient land of Palestine, many have been forced to live within dilapidated refugee camps in countries nearby. Others yet have tried to eke out an existence, travelling stateless with no passport, from country to country, in search of a warm welcome and hopefully work. Many Palestinians still living within Palestine have sensed that life has become progressively more difficult over the last 65 years. Since its inception, Israel has continued to expand through military conquest, settlement building, and sheer brute force. Though the original United Nations plan for the state's creation comprised 55% of Palestine, Israel today controls 100%. The Jewish character of the state is another bone of contention for Palestinians across the globe. For whilst Jews worldwide have an open invitation to come and live, evicted Palestinians do not have the right to return, even for a visit. Furthermore, Israel's international allies, amongst them America, have abetted and funded its behaviour, refusing to reign in a country which has flouted more United Nations General Assembly resolutions than any other country in history. Palestinians and Arabs are not without their problems too. Bitter infighting amongst the Palestinian leadership, Fatah and Hamas, has led to political stagnation, while some say a lack of political and military judgment on the part of these groups has prolonged Palestinian suffering. The days when Palestinians could rely on their ethnic and religious brethren in Egypt, Syria and Jordan to intervene on their behalf appeared long gone. Such countries seem distracted with nationalist internal politics and intimidated by Israel's increased military capacity. But as the Arab Spring continues to spew forth, reshaping the political scene in the Arab world, will these countries assume a new role? Despite these myriad setbacks, the Palestinian people themselves refuse to fall into the quagmire of self-pity. They continue to remain optimistic that a solution is in sight, something that has inspired action and movements across the world. This year, the United Nations voted to recognize the Palestinian territories as a non-member observer state, whilst the rapidly expanding boycott, divestment and sanctions movement was given a boost last week when eminent scientist Stephen Hawking refused to attend a conference due to be held in Israel. Even before these events, the Palestinian people had already sought to take destiny into their own hands. In 2006, they foreshadowed the Arab Spring by electing a government in the Gaza Strip that has been boycotted by the region's traditional stakeholders. But after inspiring the masses in their own countries, new players with big promises have entered the scene in recent years. Barack Obama, John Kerry and Mohamed Morsi. But will they begin repaving the path towards peace and statehood? Or will popular Palestinian groups, many considered hostile to Western interests, seize their initiative? Amanda Thomas Johnson, The Islam Channel.
Well, tonight I want to hear your views on the ongoing Palestinian crisis. Are you optimistic that a solution is on the horizon, or are things getting worse for the Palestinians? Who do you blame for the fact that Palestinians are still homeless and Palestine is still occupied? Refugees don't have the right to return. All of these questions are up for grabs. And whose fault is it? Is it just Israel's fault, or are Palestinian factions also to blame for the situation that they're in? And really, what are the expectations on the West, in particular America and Obama? What can they really do, and are they doing enough? Really, the question I'm asking is, what has prolonged the Palestinian occupation? Phone us up and tell us. I'd love to hear your view. And also, my guest would love to hear your view. He is Martin Linton, co-director of Labour to Palestine, a group that takes Labour Party members on tours of Israel and the occupied territory to see firsthand what the real situation is taking place in Palestine. Good evening, Martin. Thank you for joining me.
Good evening, Hassan.
65 years yesterday of the Nakba, and really the situation of Palestine, as we heard on that report, really hasn't improved. It's actually deteriorating. Every day we're hearing of new settlements being built on Palestinian land. The kind of famous words about by the Israeli government, I think it was Ariel Sharon who kind of said, let's change the facts on the ground. They will speak for themselves. It's happening. The facts on the ground are that there are no Palestinian places left.
Well, two things are happening. One is that things are getting worse in Palestine itself, both in the West Bank and in Gaza. But also support for the Palestinians in the rest of the world is increasing. So Palestinians have every right to feel despairing, despondent about what the Israeli government is doing and about the lack of support they get from, particularly from the Americans, from the European governments. But at a popular level, there's more and more support. Even in Parliament, there's more and more support for the Palestinian cause. So I wouldn't say that I'm hopeful, but certainly in terms of awareness, public awareness and recognition of the terrible plight of the Palestinians, we are making enormous strides now, and hopefully people will wake up in time to stop the final obliteration of the Palestinian state.
Okay. Well, we've got a caller online. It's calling from Angola. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. You're on air. Your views, please.
Yeah, my question is that.
Yep, do
Hello?
ask your question.
Yeah, my question, I want to make a request.
It's not going to make a difference.
I want to make a request. I want to make a request.
You want to make a request?
Yeah.
Go on and make a request.
Right. My request is that what I believe in the Quran, that the end of the world, the Palestinian world will have its own full independence, and the Jews and the whatever they call themselves, the Israel, they will go away. Even the trees, when the Jews could go around the tree will call itself, there's a Jew behind me. Come and touch him. And I believe this time will come. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're sorry, we couldn't really hear everything you said there. Not sure if the volume on your side is low or if the volume is low here in the studio. But thank you nonetheless for calling in. I think, just going back to what you said, Martin, the narrative, I mean, it's been 65 years. And when one thinks about how is it possible for 65 years for the world to turn a blind eye to this, and a lot of people would say it's because there was a sophisticated kind of narrative that was being spun across the world in media on other places by Israel to ensure that, there wasn't any negative light shown on it. That is kind of changing now. Do you also sense that now the truth is perhaps coming out a little bit more?
Well, I mean, the Israelis are absolute masters of the art of public relations. They call it hasbara, explaining. And you have to, in a way, admire their ability to persuade people that they are the ones who are threatened and the Palestinians are the aggressors. The truth, we all know, is precisely the opposite. The Palestinians are the ones who are the victims, and the Israeli government and the Israeli army are the aggressors. You have only to look at the casualty figures, look at what's happening on the ground. The Israelis show absolutely no mercy. They're taking more and more land from the Palestinians. Far more Palestinians have been killed by Israelis than the other way around. Every time there's trouble in Gaza, we see, far more huge casualties among the Palestinians, very low casualties among the Israelis. Obviously, we want no casualties on either side, but somehow a lot of the world has bought this idea that the Israelis are the ones who are suffering, the Israelis are the victims. The truth is the other way around. And gradually now, at last, after 65 years, people are beginning to understand the true situation. But whether it's in time or not, that's the question.
Yeah. Well, Well, hopefully it is in time. Though there have been generations. I mean, 65 years is a very long time. There'll be some people who would never have gone back because they probably have died a natural death waiting for so long. But you know, the interesting thing is, one thing that you mentioned there is this how the whole narrative has been turned upside down, where the occupier is the victim and the victim has become the aggressor or the occupier. Now that's you can kind of understand that from the Israeli allies, you know, people from say America who are traditionally the staunchest allies of Israel. You can understand their allies kind of also buying into that. But what's made like independent countries or even the Muslim countries around the area, what's made them kind of also fall into this full sense of reality, if you like?
Well, you have to look at what the Americans have been doing. I mean, the reason why the situation, balance of power, if you like, has changed is that, when Israel started, they were actually militarily superior to the Palestinians, but they weren't militarily superior to the Arab world. And they were a small country and they had a very small army. So it was possible for people to see the Israelis as being threatened. But now Israel is a military superpower. They're the fourth strongest military power in the world. They have a huge arms industry of their own, and they're given $3.5 billion a year by the United States, mainly for purchase of arms. So they have the most sophisticated, modern armaments equipment anywhere in the world outside the United States. So the military balance has changed completely, and I don't think that the world has really caught up with this new reality. If you look at a map of the Middle East, Israel is a small country. It's surrounded by Arab states, but actually, if you look at it in military terms, Israel is the dominant power, and what has also happened is that the United States have funded many Arab countries, given them aid and assistance, but on condition that they at least don't get involved in any kind of war with the Israelis. So that the Egyptians and the Jordanians are tied down by
so they've kind of been
treaties.
bought off, basically.
If you like, they've been bought off. Certainly, it's been very noticeable since the Arab Spring. Everybody thought that with the Arab Spring, with the election of a new government in Egypt, things would change overnight. Of course, things are changing, and they will change more, but the change is very slow because the Egyptian government is understandably held back by the fact that they themselves receive nothing like as much as the Israelis, but they do receive a lot of military aid from the United States, and that is conditional on basically keeping Gaza bottled up and not allowing, not opening the gates to Gaza, and also
helping maintaining the status quo.
Absolutely, yes, and the same is true of Jordan, of course.
Let's turn to our callers again. I believe there's a caller from Uganda. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Caller from Uganda. Okay, we've lost that call. Let's go to Aisha, I believe, who's calling from London. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
You're on air, sister. Your views, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Very interesting topic. It almost it's emotional. It's interesting. It's all that wrapped up together. It's funny. I would like to know if America or England was in the same situation as the Palestinians, what would they do if they were in the shoes of the Palestinians? You know, we have to look at this situation not only from political point of view, from a humanitarian point of view more than anything. To see people in this situation where they're absolutely suffering, where their land has been taken, their rights have been taken, to any natural human rights have been taken away, from even down to clean water. Children are dying, people are dying of diseases, and America and England are there, who are supposed to be the so-called superpowers, who can do something, actually aiding this, and then making rights to go and invade other lands based on the same reasons that they're keeping Palestine in this situation. I don't understand. And it's like, as you said about the Arab lands taking money and aid from America and so on in order to keep the Palestinians under control. How can they do this and then say they fear Allah? It's just unbelievable. The whole situation is inconceivable. And I cannot believe that there's nothing we can do. There has to be something we can do. You know, and just make dua, inshallah, that one day, inshallah, Palestine will be free, because the Israelis can bombard, they can make up stories, they can invade. Everyone knows the Palestinian land belongs to the Palestinians.
Yeah.
And that will be so in the future, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you, Aisha, for your views there. And I will ask Martin to respond to some of those things, in particular, really, what can we do? Let's go to Kabir, who's calling from Nigeria, I believe. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
You're on air. Your views, please.
My name is Alhaji Kabir, calling from Nigeria.
Okay. What would you like to say?
Yes. Yes. What I want to say is about this issue of Palestinian and the Israelis. Yes, what I want to say, this problem of Israel and the Palestinians is the fault of the Muslim world. Because the other side, the Western world, clearly they came and showed that they are fully 100% after and giving full support to Israelis. They have been deceiving the Palestinians by trying to resuscitate the negotiations, which the negotiations will never work forever and ever, because the Western part of the world, their hearts and mind are not open to the truth. They're supposed to be open and honest if they want negotiation to be done. And this continued building of the new settlements by the Israelis, they have the Western support.
Yeah. Okay, Kabir, I think I've got your point. And I'm going to put this to Martin. Thank you very much for your call. I'm going to move to the next caller. I believe Abdurrahman from London is...
Give them food.
Oh, Kabir, you're still there. Okay, let's go to Abdurrahman from London. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. You're on air. Your views.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. My name is Zaman, actually. They put it Rahman.
Oh, Zaman.
Yeah.
Subhanallah. I apologize for that. I think the people who received your initial call got the name wrong. That's why I said Abdurrahman, because Rahman isn't usually used on his own.
This is my probably private.
No problem, Zaman. It's good to hear from you. Apologies for getting your name wrong. Please tell us your views.
Actually, you know, you're saying that the world, the gentleman is saying that the world has now... you know, finding the truth. They have now finding the truth from the last 65 years, actually, and they're saying the Israeli army was a very minute army. You know, they happen to be the fourth power in the world. And they are clever, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're very clever. What are the Arabs doing? They are 65 years behind. You know, powerless worship fate and luck. Until unless all the Arabs start walking towards Israel, there will be no Israel. Until unless they sort it out, West is not going to sort it out. West is fighting their proxy war, keeping the Arabs at bay. You know, Henry Kissinger came to Shah Faisal when Shah Faisal was alive, and Shah Faisal wanted to do the oil in rather than dollar currency in Arabic currency, and Shah Faisal took him and. Henry Kissinger that we might invade Saudi Arabia if you go into these kind of stupid things. And Shah Faisal took him into the desert with a tent, and he put 2 dates in front of Henry Kissinger and 2 dates in front of him. He said Arabs could eat or live on dates. Americans can't live on dates. In 6 months, he was assassinated by his own nephew. You see, until unless Arabs put their whole house in order, this will keep on going and going and on and on and on. That's my opinion anyway. But the gentleman is right. Israel was nothing for 65 years ago, and now they are the fourth power. Why? Because they're educated, they're clever. They know how to, 98% of the Jewish people go to higher university. 2% of the Muslim land go to universities. A potent power in a Muslim land is forbidden.
Okay.
Global divisions which
Zaman, you're making really good points, but unfortunately I'm coming very fast up to a break.
Thank you for listening to me.
Yeah, and if you wish, you can call back after the break, and I'll take the rest of your points. Jazakallah khair. for your calls. I've made a note, and Martin, I'm going to ask you to respond to some of these points after the break. Inshallah, I'll see you after the break. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Your Views on the News with me, Azad Ali. Just before the break, we did take some calls, and a couple of points that were raised. If we go back to what Aisha raised, in terms of what can we do, I mean, she was raising the issue of the humanitarian kind of crisis that Palestinians are in. What can people do to help that situation?
Well, I think Aisha really put her finger on the issue when she said, you know, what would English people do if they were in the same situation as the Palestinians? And you know, one can imagine, you know, if England had been occupied by France or Germany for the last 64 years and all the English people have been pushed off into a corner of the country, well, we know perfectly well what the English would do. They would fight every inch of their territory, for every inch of their territory, and they would be far more aggressive, I think, than the Palestinians have been in defending their territory.
But this, and just to raise this, I mean, this has become taboo. I don't know, it might be just me, and callers, if you think it's not me, do call up and tell us. But it seems like, you know, to raise the issue of Palestinian resistance is almost akin to supporting terrorism. And anyone who kind of says the Palestinian has the right to defend themselves, you know, to use self-defense to reclaim their land are terrorists.
Yeah, I think people have a split personality on this because in theory people say, well, yes, everybody's got the right to self-determination, but in practice they often buy this idea that Palestinians are terrorists when they're, rather than fighting for their own self-determination, their own independence. So people have very confused views about this, but you know, we don't have to imagine what England would be like if we were in the same situation. We can look at what happens to English people when they go out and see what's happening in the occupied territories themselves. Because, as you mentioned, I'm a co-director of Labour to Palestine. We send groups to the Middle East of English people, usually Labour Party people. And there's a group that went out today and are out in Ramallah now. And all of these groups, when they go and see what is actually happening on the ground in the West Bank, they go to refugee camps, they see the wall, they talk to Palestinians, they are absolutely horrified. And they come back absolutely determined to do something to support the Palestinian cause. So there's no doubt in my mind what English people do when they are confronted with the realities. The trouble is that, you know, so many people are unaware of it or only faintly aware of it. More and more people are beginning to understand now, and their reaction when they know the facts is one of total support for the Palestinians. Not unconditional support. Obviously, everybody expects, understands that the issue has to be resolved at the end of the day with talks, but not talks where one side is hugely more powerful than the other. I mean, I think that the point that Zaman was making, yes, it's true that people, you know, neighbours have to resolve their issues at the end of the day, but that's not what you're getting between Israel and Palestine. Israel has a hugely powerful army. Palestine has no army at all, and you know, to expect the two of them just to sit down at a table and to come up with a solution is unrealistic.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's turn to Asma, who's calling from London. Assalamu alaikum, Asma.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for joining us. Your views, please.
Right, my views are Britain should play a bigger role in solving the Palestinian problem. And it was Britain who got them in this mess in the first place. The Israeli Zionists always play the Holocaust card when it finds itself in a corner. And, you know, they should remember that it was actually Germany who exterminated them and not the Palestinians. And I'll tell you why this injustice has prolonged for 65 years. That Europe and America deliberately put Israel there to spy on the Arabs, and most of all, they will not tolerate them in their own backyard. Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize. What for? And why did the British government change the law allowing, these leaders who are actually committing genocide against the Palestinians to come here, and we can't even arrest them anymore. So, they're saying one thing in one quarters and then doing something else.
Yeah.
And they're frequently bringing like African leaders and African soldiers to The Hague. But we never see any leaders from Israel or their soldiers who bulldoze peacemakers people, their bulldozers, coming to The Hague. It's not even mentioned in the news or anything. So it's the double standards all around yet again.
Okay. Thank you very much for those views, and I will put those to Martin. Let's go to Milad, who's calling from Manchester. Hello, assalamu alaikum, Milad. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Okay, I think we might have lost that call. Let's go to our next caller. I believe is calling from Nigeria. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Aniyat? Hello? Hello? No, we can't hear you. Can you just speak up a little bit more?
Hello?
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Yep, I can hear you. Have you got your television on? You need to put the sound volume down on your television and then talk to us.
Hello, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I just want to say that about the Palestinian situation. I don't think it will change until the whole Ummah has to change.
Sorry, can you repeat that again? It won't change because...
Because look what happened in Egypt. We thought that everything is going to change, but look what happened. I mean, every Muslim leader, they try to defend the Ummah when they're in public, and in private they do something else. And Allah knows what they do. Look at the Turkish Prime Minister. He was trying to defend the Ummah. Now he went to the White House. And I don't know what kind of tablet they gave it to him. Suddenly he changed. So every leader, they keep on let it in the whole Ummah down. So
okay.
I'm honestly don't know. I'm just confused.
Okay, thank you. No, that's a very good points. Let's go to Sophia from Nottingham. Assalamu alaikum, Sophia.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. You're on air. Your views, please.
Oh, assalamu alaikum. Tonight we've heard a lot about, what can we do, and lamenting, and people sitting at home worrying. They should be becoming active. I'm very ashamed to say that I am the only Muslim face, the only Muslim that actually attends my Palestine Solidarity Campaign group. You should be joining Palestine Solidarity Campaign. Their telephone number is 0207 700 6192. Or you could be joining Friends of Al-Aqsa, which has branches in Leicester, in London, in Bradford, and in Scotland. Their number is 0116 2125 441. And you should be looking at the site of Boycott Israeli Goods.
Okay. BDS, that's actually a good point. Sophia, thank you for actually...
That actually is beginning to feel the bite to have an effect. Thank you, brothers.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Sophia. I think you raised some really important points. And I just want to come to, actually, if I start with Sophia, which is actually true, and viewers, I don't know, call up and tell me if I'm wrong. There are a lot of people that talk about, and are worried about the situation in Palestine. But time and again, when there are events or things that people can do, it is actually disheartening to see, the numbers are very low anyway. But most of those numbers, and we have many callers that are saying, the Muslims need to do more and more, but the Muslims aren't doing really that much. I mean, is that your experience as well?
Not really, no. I mean, I'm full of admiration for the Muslim community in Britain because of all the, if you like, immigrant communities, although, of course, most Muslims aren't actually immigrants, I think the Muslim community has been the strongest in its support for Palestine. That's not to say that it wouldn't be good to have even more support. Of course it would. But you know, I would say that in the movement of people who are fighting for justice for Palestine, there are many Muslims and many Jewish people as well. Yeah.
So there is actually this...
they're overrepresented.
Yeah. Just sorry to interrupt you. Sorry, viewers, I won't be able to take any more callers at the moment. I know there are some people waiting. We've literally got minutes left, and I do want to give Martin an opportunity to respond to some of these things. And I think you're right, that there is, but it seems like the momentum isn't there. I mean, you don't... I mean, obviously, the Stephen Hawking case of where he didn't go, I mean, which brings on to the BDS. And as Sophia mentioned, it is starting to bite. I mean, these are the kind of things that were used to get rid of apartheid in South Africa. Are these things that people should be getting more involved with and things like that?
Well, obviously, we want far more people to get involved because, you know, although the movement is growing very rapidly now, we are still a long way short of where the anti-apartheid movement was in the 1980s. We need that kind of momentum. We need that kind of support. And you know, it's wonderful to have the support from people like Professor Stephen Hawking, who you know, is one of the most eminent scientists we've got, and who has pulled out of this conference because of the way that Israelis treat the Palestinians. And I'm appalled at the reaction we've had, that he's had from many people trying to stop him from expressing his views.
There was also some very disgusting comments about, you know, his disability and everything else.
There were. I mean,
it's shocking.
Readers might be, you know, the viewers might be absolutely shocked. Some of the comments on the websites from this is not only the Israeli government trying to close down freedom of speech in Israel, which is I mean, they have passed a law to make it against people who support boycott in Israel, but also the pro-Israeli bloggers in this country. They were saying things like, of Professor Hawking, he's crippled in the head. He should die already. He can't even wipe his own arse. Somebody, and this was the worst one. Somebody actually put this on a website. Somebody should release the handbrake when he's on a hill. These are people who are trying to stop him expressing his point of view, and this is, I'm afraid, what people can expect when they support the Palestinians, is that they get a lot of people trying to close them down.
These are very extreme and unbelievable comments, and they've kind of gone unnoticed, if you like. Almost.
Well, they have been reported in the press, but people find it difficult to believe that the pro-Israelis can be so. I mean, not all of them, of course, but these people are supporting. They claim a country that believes in free speech and democracy by trying to close down free speech. So I find that extraordinary. I mean, can I just come back to the first question there we had, talking about Britain has a special responsibility. I believe that is very true. I mean, for three reasons. One is because of the Balfour Mandates, which was British. Second is because Britain had the mandate for Palestine. It was the colonial power there for 20, 30 years. And the third is that we are one of the guarantors of the Geneva Convention, which is being flouted every day by the Israelis. But more than that, Britain actually has a better opportunity for taking the lead on the Palestinian issue than any other country. The Americans, you know, will never be able to do anything about this because even if Obama wanted to do something, he's held back by Congress. And if Britain took a lead, for instance, if Britain banned trade with the Israeli settlements, that would send such a strong message. We are the power that people look to.
But do you think there is political will across the political parties to do something like that?
I'm afraid not. No. The Labour Party has moved a bit. For instance, it supported the Palestine at the United Nations, but William Hague has set his face against boycotts, and this is the job that we have to do.
That's the job we have to do. Thank you, Martin, for joining me this evening. I'm sorry I had to hurry you a little bit.
Not at all.
And apologies to my callers. I couldn't take all of the calls. I think there is a job still to be done. I think Martin is right. There is hope for us there. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's down to each and individual, each and one of us, to actually do something positive about it, either joining a local Palestinian movement or at least contacting our politicians and MPs and raising the issues. Hope you enjoy the show. Inshallah, I shall see you again next week. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.